Chapter 9. I am not a healer. When under the shadow of the Statue of Liberty I found myself bombarded with questions by a score of newspaper representatives who had come aboard the Majestic specifically to meet my humble person, I began to have a faint idea of the interest awakened in America by the announcement of my lecture tour. When I found myself escorted soon afterward by stalwart American policemen from the ship to the automobile, waiting to convey me to my temporary home with friends, and when I caught sight of the crowds gathered to welcome me, I was inexpressibly surprised and touched that I should be considered worthy of such a reception. Shall I be accused of lack of modesty if I say that I am proud and gratified to have been greeted thus? I think no, because I know that all this sympathy and interest must be attributed to the characteristic keenness of Americans to learn and probe to a deeper degree the methods of autosuggestion associated with my name. Since my arrival in New York, the memory of which will never be effaced, I have not ceased to marvel at all I have seen and heard and read. Of my general impressions I shall have a lot to say later on. I am still somewhat dominated by that feeling of surprise which seized me at my first contact with the American people. In fact, my wonderment has grown every day with the realization of ideas, which many people seem to have formed of me and my powers. I do not want people to have a sort of fanatical belief in me. It is true, of course, that blind faith is always an asset in favor of a sick person's chance of getting well. People who come to me with a belief already established in their minds, that they are going to be cured or more than halfway on the road to recovery before they see me. But the number of persons who can come into direct contact with me must of necessity be relatively small, and even if I possessed any extraordinary magnetic power to heal, which I emphatically declare I do not, the results of such power would be limited for obvious reasons, whereas there are no limitations to the potentialities of the system I teach. I mean that I cannot reach everyone, but everyone can practice autosuggestion. My aim, therefore, is solely to show you how to cure yourselves. Rid yourself of the utterly wrong idea that I can cure. I am not a healer. Not a healer. I had a first inkling of the mistake America was making when newspaper reporters on the Majestic addressed me as doctor and professor, and I was obliged to correct them with reminders that I am not a doctor, I am not a professor. The papers continue to talk of the cures I have effected in my clinics, a bad word. By the way, for the little gatherings at which I meet a select number of patients in order to endeavor to convince them that by following my methods of autosuggestion they can cure themselves, or at least gain appreciable improvement. Yes, it has been my joy to see many of these poor sufferers benefit from my teaching, but my joy will still be greater if I succeed in spreading faith in these methods to hundreds of thousands of others, and instill in them the knowledge that they can cure themselves without seeing me at all. And it will be impossible to attain that goal if the impression be allowed to persist that it is necessary to come into personal contact with me in order to obtain results. Unfortunately, it is very difficult to convince some people that I do not exercise a certain influence over them. When I tell them that they must count upon themselves, not upon me, they often reply, "I don't care what you say, you do wield power, and when I am with you I get better results than when I'm alone." Well, that may be true in many cases, but the reason is, as I've already indicated, that a person who has faith enough to come to me is already half cured by that very faith. There is another aspect of the question. If I possessed any real power, surely it should have the same effect upon all. Yet that is not the case. Upon some my influence is absolutely nil. Upon others it may be immense, which proves that it is not and cannot be an essential factor in the efficiency of my system. It exists merely in the imagination of certain persons, and as I have explained, I hope convincingly in previous chapters, the imagination is all-powerful, so in such instances it does really aid recovery of health. But it would be a sorry action to allow it to be thought that personal contact with me is necessary. I want American citizens all over the continent to understand that all they need is a proper comprehension of the principles of autosuggestion, that is simplicity itself, together with a belief in its effectiveness. Merely applying truth known for thousands of years. I do not claim to have invented anything. I have merely reduced to a simple formula for everyday use and practice, theories which were known to be truth thousands of years ago. Still less have I invented a new faith, as some would appear to infer. One day a gentleman interviewed by one of the newspapers described my method of autosuggestion as a direct challenge to the church. I confess I fail to see any relation between religion and autosuggestion. Is medicine a challenge to the church? Autosuggestion is only the use of natural forces and functions of our being, and can be practiced by Catholics and Protestants, Islamists or Buddhists, without violating any of the precepts or doctrinal principles of those churches or religions. Did not St. Paul write of the faith that moveth mountains? Surely it cannot be wrong to make use of the faculties which the Creator himself has given us. No connection with religion. Other religious leaders look askance at autosuggestion because it has come to be associated with alleged miracles, which I am supposed to have worked. Now, miracles do not exist. I have never accomplished any and never shall. As a matter of fact, the so-called miraculous cures are the simplest and most easily explained of all. They prove that actually the sufferers only thought they were sick. Thought produced or prolonged the symptoms, and in that respect they were really sick. But directly they were made to realize that their ills could be overcome by imagination, they were cured. It may seem rather unnecessary for me to answer the few criticisms of which I have been the object in the atmosphere of exceptionally sympathetic interest in which I find myself in America, but I am anxious to clear away all misunderstanding. I wish to be taken seriously by serious-minded people. I want everyone to be convinced that the theories I advanced, reduced as they are to their simplest expression, are nevertheless built upon a groundwork of scientific fact. End of chapter, end of book. This audio presentation of my method by Emile Coue has been brought to you by AudioEnlightenment.com and has been recorded for the exclusive use of Audio Enlightenment members only. If you have received this audio from any website other than our own, please visit our website. Let us know at your convenience.